For photography introduction assignment number 2, we're going to look at how you can use your cell phones in order to take pictures for photography this semester. If you do not have a cell phone, then you may use the iPad that was given to you by the school. But as I mentioned earlier, in order for us to have good quality pictures for the yearbook, it is recommended that you use your cell phone if you have one available to you rather than the iPad, because the quality of the pictures on a cell phone are going to be better than those of an iPad. Also, some of you have mentioned that you do have access to a camera. Of course, you're more than welcome to use the camera. I just won't be teaching you how to use that camera. So just like we said with video production, Google, YouTube, they're going to be your best friend. You can search up how-to videos. But in regards to this class, we're going to talk about how to use our cell phones. Of course, if we do return back to campus at some point, we will have access to the photography cameras, and then we will at that time do a crash course on how to use those cameras. This assignment will discuss how to take pictures on an iPhone, a Galaxy, or an Android. If you have a cell phone other than those 3 types of phones, again, it's going to be your responsibility to look up on the internet how to take quality pictures with those phones, because at some point I can't cover every single cell phone that is out there. Okay, so if you have any questions, send me an email, let me know. First phone we're going to talk about is an Apple iPhone. The information from this presentation was found on macworld.com, and it was an article called 12 Awesome iPhone Camera Tricks Anyone Can Do. I'm only going to cover a few things. There are so many resources out there that you guys can look for and read and help you to be a better cell phone photographer. First of all, you want to think about focus and exposure. So when you're holding up your camera to take a picture, you can tap on the subject to set the focus. So if I'm taking a picture of an AirPod case, I would put my phone where it needs to be. I would tap on the AirPods and it would know to focus on that subject. This will also set your exposure, which means how bright or dark the image is. So you might see it becomes brighter, you might see it becomes darker, and that's what exposure is. To change the exposure, tap on your subject and drag. You'll see there's a little sun. Drag the sunburst up or down in order to brighten the picture or darken the picture. Another tip is to reduce camera shake. Okay, in low light, meaning there's not a lot of light available, the camera will need a longer exposure. So you're going to need to keep the camera totally still. Here's some tips for holding the camera still. Use a wall to steady your body. Rest your elbows on a low wall. Tuck your elbows, and of course, use the self timer, which we'll talk about in a moment. But the more your camera shakes, the more blurry your picture is going to be, and that's not going to provide a good quality picture. You can use the rule of thirds grid. What that means is pictures will look more professional if you follow the rule of thirds. This means your subject is not just dead center. It falls on one of the grid lines. Think of a tic-tac-toe board. Okay, the 2 vertical lines, the 2 horizontal lines, where the lines intersect, that is considered on the rule of thirds. To turn the grid on for an iPhone, you're going to go to settings, you're going to go to camera, and you're going to go to grid. And that will turn the grid on so that when you take pictures, you can align your subject on one of those intersections. Use a hardware shutter. What that means is you can use the camera's volume button to take a picture. You can also use the volume buttons on your headphones, not AirPods, but if you have the headphones with a volume up and a volume down, you can use those to snap a picture. This is useful for taking pictures at an awkward angle. So again, if you are taking a picture of something and you're reaching to touch the shutter button, you might move your phone. However, using The volume can help you hold the camera more still in order to achieve a clear picture and not a blurry one. For using the self timer on an iPhone, there's a couple of options. There's a 2-second and a 10-second timer option. You can prop your phone up on something, or you can purchase a monopod or a tripod. If you need to move to a further location before the camera takes a picture, use the longer 10-second option. So you could prop your phone up, set the timer for 10 seconds. That gives you a chance to move away before the picture is snapped. It also recommends to use the burst mode. Photographers take dozens or even hundreds of pictures just to get one great shot. You can do this with your phone as well. Normally, when you take a picture, you press the shutter button once, it takes one picture. If you hold the shutter button down, it's going to take a burst, a bunch of photos, and it will show you the one it finds to be the best one. And then you can delete the other pictures or choose to keep them all. It's up to you. Let's talk about the Samsung Galaxy for a moment. This information was taken from a website called techwalla.com. The article is called 25 Tips for Taking Better Photos on Your Galaxy. First of all, there is an option on the Galaxy to review your pictures. If you go to camera settings and you enable, meaning you turn it on, reviewing pictures, this will help you to go through your pictures quickly to see if you got the shot you want. You don't always have a ton of time to take pictures. So in order to waste a bunch of time, if you have a Galaxy and you enable this feature, you're able to go through all of your pictures to see if you got the shot that you want. The Galaxy also offers you a Pro mode. In order to enable that, you need to go to camera settings and click on mode. Once you click on mode, you're going to select Pro. Once you click on Pro, you're going to notice that a second screen will overlay the first screen. Why would you want to use Pro mode? There's a bunch of things you can do while using this. You can adjust autofocus. You can change the white balance. You can play with ISO or shutter speed, and you can exchange the exposure composition. So those of you out there that want to challenge yourself to take better pictures, you can consider using a Pro mode. If you just want to focus on the basics, this is not something that you would want to do, but those of you that want to go a step further. If we were in the classroom learning about photography, we would be focusing on things like ISO and shutter speed and composition. But since we are doing this from home, we're going to try to keep it a little bit more simple. The Galaxy also has an option for grid lines. In order to turn these on, you're going to go to camera settings, you're going to click on grid lines, and you're going to have two composition options. The first one is rule of thirds, which is the same option we had for the iPhone. You're going to position your subject at one of the intersection points on the grid. And like I said, you can think of that tic-tac-toe board, the two vertical lines, the two horizontal lines, where they intersect would be considered rule of thirds. Also, there's an option that targets Instagrammers. It provides light square grid lines, which is optimized for Instagram. So if you know you're going to be taking pictures and then putting it on Instagram, this would be a good option for you. Also, it is recommended, no matter what kind of phone you're using, skip the flash. People think, oh, I got to turn my flash on. But the truth is, the flash is too bright for many environments. You're better finding some source of natural light, turning on a light if you're in a house, or of course, looking for some kind of sunshine. Of course, your option is to take a picture with the flash and without the flash to see which one looks better to you. But don't just assume turning the flash on is a good idea. Make sure you're taking time to play with the focus. Play with focusing your camera and putting your subject in sharp focus and keep your background blurred. So there are ways where you can have your actual subject in focus and the area around it is a little bit more blurred. And you can play around with the different modes in your phone to figure that out. Galaxies also have a burst mode, as we talked about with the iPhone. The Galaxy has a very fast autofocus, probably one of the best ones of all the phones out there. What you can do is tap and hold the volume up button to fire a burst of photos. But to be honest, this works better in bright light. Don't really try using a burst mode when you're in a dark place. The pictures are not going to be very clear or of a very good quality. The Galaxy has 3 self-timer options. It has a 2, 5, or 10-second self-timer. And when you use the self-timer, it's going to fire off 3 pictures in a row, and hopefully you're able to choose the best one out of those 3 options. Lastly, for the Galaxy, you want to utilize the camera's buttons or the phone's buttons. If you go to camera settings, you can enable something called Quick Camera Launch. This will allow you to press the home key twice, which will automatically open up your camera. Move myself over here. You can use the volume up and the volume down as a shutter button, which will also snap the pictures. So similar to the iPhone, these are just ways that when you're out and about and you see, I need to take a picture of that, you don't want to waste time going through and finding your camera. If you enable the setting, Camera Quick Launch on a Galaxy, you tap home twice and it automatically opens your camera. Lastly, the Android. This information was taken from a website called thejoyofandroid.com. How to take good pictures with an Android phone. Right off the top, it reminds us, actually, any cell phone that you're going to use, you want to make sure your lens is clean. So these are my 3 lenses. And then if I'm going to use the front camera, there's also going to be a lens in the front. You want to make sure you're keeping your lens clean. Do not just grab your shirt to clean your lens. You want to use a microfiber cloth to clean the lens of your camera. You can ask your mom or your grandma. Most likely they have a microfiber cloth somewhere in the house. That's what you want to use to clean the lens because you are less likely to scratch your lens. Also, please never use household chemicals to clean your camera lens. Don't grab a bottle of Windex, spray your lens, and start scrubbing away. Okay, you could break your phone doing that. If your camera lens is dirty, you are not going to be able to take clear pictures. So take a moment. If you notice your pictures are coming out a little bit blurry, clean your camera lens. Same thing as the other 2 phones. The Android also has a rule of thirds. Follow the tic-tac-toe method to improve photo composition. 1, go to the camera app. 2, click on settings. And 3, turn on grid lines. Point the subject the subject of your photo on one of the intersections in the grid line. It recommends take as many shots as you can. Take a lot of pictures so that you can ensure you get the desired picture. You can go back and delete all the unneeded pictures later. Imagine visiting the Eiffel Tower in Paris and you check your pictures later and you didn't get a good shot. You want to make sure you take a bunch of pictures. When we get into taking pictures for this class, most of the time we are going to break from meeting on Zoom for probably about 40 minutes, and you will have 40 minutes to go take pictures. Some of you might finish in 5 minutes. You're probably not going to have great pictures. Those of you that go and take 30, 40, 50 pictures of the same thing, you're going to give yourself options because you only have to turn in 1. You can delete all those other pictures later, but you got to have the one good picture. So for the Android, you want to always make sure you're using proper lighting. Make sure your source of light, whether it is a light bulb, the sun, etc., is behind you as the photographer. You don't want to shoot towards the sun. your subject is going to be dark. Now, if your subject is the sun, that's fine. If you're taking a picture of a sunset or something like that, otherwise you want to make sure that it's behind you. When you are shooting in direct sunlight, look for cover such as the shade from a tree. You're going to notice light and shadows, lots of issues when you're taking pictures. Make sure you're taking a moment to pay attention to that. If you're shooting outside, it's going to be better if you are in the shade. This is a good rule of thumb for no matter what camera you're using. Please avoid zooming. I also say this in video production when we're filming with cameras. I don't like zoom. It ruins the quality of the picture or the footage that you're trying to get. If you want a close picture, physically move closer to the subject. Do not use zoom. Using zoom can result in the loss of sharpness of the picture. Now the cameras make it so easy where they'll give you like 3 zoom options. If you actually choose the zoom and you look at the picture, you'll notice it's a lot more pixelated. It's a lot less sharp. And we want sharp pictures. Lastly, with the Android, you always want to make sure you're keeping your hand steady. This is going to help you to avoid blurry pictures. Invest in a monopod or a tripod for mobile devices. If you don't have one of these, as said before, prop your arm up on something to steady yourself. Keep your elbows in. Make sure you're holding that camera still. As we've said before, it's tough for me to take questions on a video. So if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email. Let me know. These pictures here on my left were all taken by Stauffer students, and you guys are going to learn how to be great photographers just like they were. If you have any questions, let me know.